Galvantula into Tapu Fini, a great lead. The opponent choosing to stay in, which is somewhat questionable. Joey, recognising the opponents love to call lunge baits his full send in the discharge. The opponent shows no respect. They near get one shot. We sneak the Volt Switch. This is going to be the easiest shield of Joey's life. We shield up the surf. The opponent clearly core broken. They send out Registeel. Galvantula so far ahead in energy, already firing off the discharge. Discharge goes on shield and Galvantula running through the team. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have some battle submission. If you take a look on screen, the trainer named thinhjoey, currently sat at 345th in the world, has gone all the way from 2600 ELO to this ridiculous ELO, top 350 in the world in the space of 5 days using Shadow Galvantula. Today is going to be a longer video. I'm going to attempt to shoutcast 35 minutes of battles with this team that gained 650 ELO on my phone. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, we'll lead our pesky spider into Alolan Sandslash. Sandslash, a bit of a core breaker, got a pretty favourable matchup against all three of our Pokemon. We fire off the lunge, the opponent catches it on Giratina, and thanks trainer, that's going to do us a huge favour, as my god do we have some Giratina answer. This bulky bird, pretty favourable against Giratina at the best of times. This opponent running Shadow Claw and they've got a lowered attack. You will notice that Joey is running Dark Pulse, and I would recommend that if you'd like to use the Flying Umbreon in the Ultra League, because Mandibuzz doesn't hit particularly hard, and Pokemon in this format are so bulky. The opponent out there with their fishing rod, fishing for their boost, no such luck. If you're wondering just how defense weighted Mandibuzz is, we actually lost CMP to Giratina. However, on the plus side, we're not even in Ice Punch ranges. The opponent isn't running a Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Mandibuzz will survive. Sandslash going to be forced to throw two moves as the Shadow Claws are resisted. The opponent fires off the Ice Punch. Mandibuzz shrugs it off and returns fire with the Dark Pulse. I reckon I'm going to call Dark Pulse foul play probably around 100 times in this video. However, it does say Dark Pulse on the left, and that's definitely what we're using. Joey sends out Jellicent to absorb the damage. The opponent pivots out into their final Pokemon, that is Gliscor, and here comes the pesky spider once again to remind everyone who's the superior bug type in the Ultra League. The opponent invests the shield on the lunge. Joey gonna shield up the liquidation. We don't see a defense drop. Volt Switch tearing apart the opponent. Joey going for the kill shot, hoping the opponent lets it go as this game is just over. The opponent chooses to invest their final shield, hoping for the heart attack or perhaps lag win con. However, no such luck. Back out comes Jellicent. Shadow Ball clearly going to one-shot as the opponent's already in the red. And Sandslash is going to die to probably 2-3 hexes. And that is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we'll lead Galvantula into Jellicent. The opponent save switches into Registeel. We're getting a mad amount of frame drops. However, Galvantula is still pretty dominant in this matchup. I really hope we don't get a no bubble. Joey does get the no bubble. Niantic, fix your fucking game. As Joey only manages to wipe all of around 10 bubbles, we ironically did about as much damage as a resisted lunge would have done. However, we didn't get the debuff effect. Speaking of debuffs, Registeel fired off the Zap Cannon. Of course, the big tin can got the debuff. Joey still sitting in an alright spot. We do survive one charge move, and as long as we maintain alignment, we're going to be sitting in the driver's seat as Jellicent is going to be aligned with our Mandibuzz. We fire off one more discharge. The opponent lets it go. We get the Volt Switch farm down. The opponent send out Dragon Breath Giratina looking for the farm down. We fire off the lunge, which will be lowering Giratina's attack. We can just let ourselves go down. We can send in Jellicent. The opponent pivots out into Jellicent looking to reset their debuff. And this game is now going to be signed, sealed and delivered. The opponent still has 2 Protect Shields, 2 high behind, but unless they're an Ice Beam, this game is just over. The opponent fires off a Surf. Mandibuzz absolutely laughs that damage, and the opponent definitely isn't laughing. They cry and concede the match. Moving on to the next one. Galvantula into Cresselia. Shadow Galv hits so hard. Cresselia so thick, however lunge lands for huge super effective damage. Joey looking to shield up the first move. The opponent fires off the Moonblast and Joey is going to outpace to yet another lunge. This is now going to lower Cresselia's already non-existent attack by 2 stages. The opponent just completely sacked the Cresselia. They now pivot out into Gliscor. Gliscor also going to get the debuff treatment. This spider is so annoying. Lunge is resisted, but you can see they're already down to half health. If this is just a Night Slash, we will survive, so the opponent recognise that. Send the Earthquake. We send out Mandibuzz. The opponent pivot out into Charizard, and again we're sitting in a great spot. Galvantula is so good at just forcing alignment. The opponent going to be 2-shielding Charizard, as that is their win con. Gliscor is such a miserable matchup against Mandibuzz. I'm a Shadow Gliscor user, and if I see Mandibuzz, I essentially cry myself to sleep at night. Jellicent fires off one more Surf Charizard. Invest that final Protect Shield. We're still outside of Blast Burn range. Blast Burn gets us into the red. We're at the Surf. The opponent forced to throw the Dragon Claw, which is emptying the remainder of their energy. Mandibuzz is going to come in. Dark Pulse won't quite be lethal, however, I don't think Charizard makes the Blast Burn. Do they get there? They do not. They don't even make a Dragon Claw. Back out comes Gliscor, and I have no idea why the opponent's staying in. No boost will be saving you, trainer. The opponent fires off the Night Slash. I think that actually healed Mandibuzz. We fire off the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse gets Gliscor low, and the opponent says, fuck that, I'm out of here. Joey doing a really good job of just forcing alignment in these battles, and opponents just have no way of coming back from it. Great lead. Obstagoon not going to appreciate the lunge damage from this pesky spider. You're going to see Joey likes to shield the first moves. It will do the most damage. The opponent actually doesn't make a catch. They stay in and they are not going to appreciate this lunge. Lunge near one shots. Can we get the Volt Switch farm down? It looks like we can, however, we are going to have to tank one move. However, Galvantula doesn't really care. We are left deep in the red. The opponent gets the boost. Galvantula is low. Out comes Weezing. We go straight for the discharge. The opponent shows no respect, and this Weezing already down to half health. That is some very good chip damage, as Weezing going to be pretty good against the remainder of our team. Depends on the second move, to be honest. A lot run overheat, however. If they have Poliwrath, it will do quite a lot of damage. The opponent throws the brutal swing bait. Yikes, that did absolutely nothing. We fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace, I like to call Aerial Ace, as you can see on the left, because it is such a shit move. However, one more Aerial Ace will be enough to knock out. The opponent continuing to stay in. What the heck is in the back? The opponent actually shielding this low health Weezing, which is a good indication they want to fire off the overheat, and they've probably got something like a Trevenant in the back. They do fire off the overheat. That isn't enough to knock out Mandibuzz. Still absorbing all this damage. We fire off the Aerial Ace, securing the knockout. It's actually not Trevenant, it's just a Jellicent. The opponent going to have an almost impossible job of hexing us down. We fire off the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse does land. The opponent going to be forced to throw. The opponent doesn't throw. They win CMP on the Aerial Ace. Joey shielding up the Surf. He's going to return fire with the Aerial Ace. The opponent going to be forced to burn the final shield. We're getting some lag. However, the opponent did shield. We can now send in Jellicent. Jellicent does survive one Shadow Ball from full health. All Joey needs to do is tank the move, hit his own Shadow Ball, and this game is going to be signed, sealed, and delivered. GG's, and thanks for playing. Yet another very dominant win. Moving on to the next battle, we got some oppressive Shadow and Shadow crime. Dragonite usually comes with Steel in the back. We stay in, fire off the lunge, the opponent catches it on the Bear Trap. Galarian Stunfisk, however, this debuff is just going to make this matchup really comfortable for our incoming Jellicent. With a one-stage debuff, I don't even think 2 Earthquakes is going to be anywhere near enough damage. The opponent fires off the first, and holy crap, that Earthquake was absolutely pathetic. You can see Joey did throw 2 Hexes. However, when you're using 3 turn versus 2 turn, you actually just want to throw 1, because that'll only give the opponent 1 free turn. When you throw 2 Hexes, you do throw on alignment. However, that matchup was still a very dominant win. Back out comes Dragonite, opting to throw the Dragon Claw immediately. Joey is going to respect it with a Protect Shield, and we're going to return fire with the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will definitely be forcing a shield. Dragonite users love to shield, unless you're me, of course. I love to call baits and love to get returned to my Pokeball. Joey just settles for some Surf damage. The opponent lost track of energy. Shield up the Surf. The opponent now all shields down. In comes Mandibuzz. The opponent again makes a very nice catch, catching the Dark Pulse onto the Tin Can. However, the Tin Can is going to be met with Galvantula. Galvantula is going to outpace to the Discharge, and Discharge is going to land for heavy neutral damage. Registeel now already below half health. Joey going to invest his final Protect Shield here. The opponent, of course, gets the attack fall, which should allow them to survive this Discharge. However, they're going to be left low. Discharge lands. We get the Volt Switch farm down. Dragonite going to be forced to throw. They do throw the Dragon Claw, and Mandibuzz should be able to clean up this battle. I think they're going to need to double Superpower to take us out. The opponent going to throw the Dragon Claw first. Dragon Claw doesn't do too much damage. I still think we're outside of Superpower range. Moment of truth time. Is Superpower enough to knock us out? Of course it isn't. Mandibuzz are far too thick. We make the Aerial Ace and take another game. GG's, and thanks for playing. As someone who's pretty much used just Shadow Pokemon, my god, am I not used to seeing so much bulk. You can see Joey gets himself a nice 5-0. Moving on to the next one. Galvantula into Shiny Obstagoon. We've seen this matchup previously and it's actually a lot closer than I was expecting. Galvantula has 0 bulk. The opponent fires off the Night Slash. I don't think they boosted. This is 2x speed, so I didn't actually see we fire off the lunge. The opponent then pivot out into Venusaur. Holy smokes. Joey then makes a really nice play, banking the lunge and pivoting out into a hard counter in the form of Mandibuzz. Venusaur usually hits pretty hard. Of course, nothing hits that hard when you're using Mandibuzz. However, in return, we don't hit very hard. Aerial Ace, not the best move, but that did pretty much nothing to Venusaur. I think you're probably better off just going straight Dark Pulse. However, 2 Aerial Aces will get the job done. Venusaur actually looking to invest shields here, which is pretty interesting as we're still outside of Sludge Bomb range. Joey recognising that, not interested in shielding, we're left deep in the red. But Venusaur going to have a tough time of Vine Whip farming us down. We make one more Aerial Ace. The opponent catches it on Obstagoon. They get the counter farm down. We send back in Galvantula. We Volt Switch down. Back out comes Venusaur. Venusaur is going to be met with the lunge. Down goes Venusaur. The opponent's final Pokemon is Charizard and we're going for their kill shot. Does the opponent respect the damage? Yes, they do. However, hi Charizard. Meet Jellicent. Although the opponent did correctly shield up the discharge, this game once again is of course going to be over. Surf seals the deal and we take yet another very impressive game. In the next battle, we see Galarian Weezing in the lead. The opponent's running overheat. We will get one shot. The opponent farming up towards the overheat and we're going straight for the discharge, looking to get off some big neutral damage. The opponent now at a potential overheat. Joey gonna call. It's just a brutal swing and what a call. The opponent gonna fire off another brutal swing. However, Galvantula with no bulk gonna be forced to shield. Joey doesn't fire his charge move. He looks for the Volt Switch farm down. Weezing on 1 HP and a dream. Makes the final charge move. Joey happy to 2-shield and keep alignment. The opponent now sending a Shadow Alolan Sandslash, and again he's going straight discharge, hoping to sneak it through. The opponent shields the first, but this pesky spider already at the second. The second goes unshielded, and that does a lot of neutral damage. Sandslash now already in the yellow, so it should be Surf range. Joey goes straight for the Surf. However, we lose the charge move priority event. The opponent fires off the Drill Run. Is the opponent willing to invest their final shield here? Yes, they are. They're obviously recognising we're quite weak to this thing in the back. I thought we was going to attempt to catch a Drill Run on Mandibuzz. Drill Run does land, getting Jellicent super low. The opponent then make a great catch, catching the Surf onto Cresselia, but Cresselia is going to be met with the wrath of Flying Umbreon. Cresselia is available in Rays right now, and I think is a pretty good pick in the Open Ultra League. As despite them being a Psychic type and us being a Dark type, they do have good counterplay with the Moonblast coverage. They fire off the Moonblast. We see no attack drop. Another advantage of running Cresselia is this thing is also ridiculously bulky. They are going to survive this next Dark Pulse, however that's even better for us as we're going to get a big Snarl farm down. So if you're going to use Cresselia, make sure you pair it up with something like a Swampert or an Anti-Steel, as this thing is fucking horrendous if you get stuck against like a Registeel. We get the Snarl farm down, leave with the move, and despite the opponent having Sandslash alive, they concede the match. Moving on to the next one. Some more Shadow on Shadow crime, something I'm a lot more accustomed to seeing on this channel. We go straight for the lunge, which hits the Dark Poison type in for neutral. Muck gonna return fire with a charge move. They fire off the Acid Spray. Joey gonna attempt the Volt Switch farm down, however Muck on minimal HP make a charge move. However, Joey happy to 2-shield and look to RPS the backline. The opponent thinking about what they want to come in with. The opponent finally send in Virizion. We're going to hit for neutral with the lunge. The opponent shows no respect, and to be honest, that didn't do all that much damage. However, we got a great response for this. And RPS looks to be the name of the game, as we have the exact alignment that we want. Winning lead was absolutely key in this battle. If we would have lost lead, we would have had our Jellicent aligned with Virizion, which is absolutely miserable. However, now Virizion is going to be aligned with our Mandibuzz, and this Poliwrath's going to be forced to throw resisted charge moves at our really bulky Jellyfish. The opponent choosing to invest Protect Shield, and Jellicent is just going straight Shadow Ball. The opponent's already shielded one. They've actually shielded both now. I imagine the opponent's going to look to catch at some stage, and that's exactly what happens. The opponent catches the Shadow Ball onto Virizion. We're just going to return the favour, coming in to our Mandibuzz. The opponent evidently doesn't have Stone Edge. They didn't even build up to it. They went straight Sacred Sword, and holy crap, that did absolutely nothing. We make the Aerial Ace secures the knockout, back out comes Poliwrath, and this Poliwrath just isn't going to have enough in the tank. It looks like they still need 2 further Ice Punches to knock out this bulky bird. People say this league is the XL Abuse League, and I think, to be honest, we're displaying that today. XL Mandibuzz is just ridiculous. Holy crap, it's got bulk for days. We pivot out into Jellicent, looking to force the energy off Poliwrath. Speaking of XL Abuse, Skull doesn't even knock us out. We make the Surf, and Resisted Surf is going to be enough to take this game. A very simple win, just maintaining alignment throughout. Moving on to the next one. Galvantula into Surf Edge. The counters are resisted, but it absolutely doesn't look like it. So that probably explains why Joey's using 2 incredibly bulky Pokemon in the back, as we essentially give all shields to our Galvantula. We fire off the lunge, we draw a Protect Shield, lowering Surf Edge attack. That should now allow us to tank the next Night Slash. Let's see. We do survive, we're left deep in the red. We go for one more lunge, Surf Edge, also super glassy lunge, even resisted, secures the knockout. The opponent sends out Walrein again. We're going to get the alignment that we want. We can now send in Jellicent. The opponent can fire off an Earthquake, but non-stab Earthquake from a non-shadow doesn't do that much damage. Even 2 isn't going to knock us out. That's why you should run the Shadow Walrein. You heard it here first. We return fire with the Shadow Ball. We've now got this Walrein deep into the red. The opponent going to make one more Earthquake. Joey choosing to vest his final Protect Shield here. Jellicent continuing to farm up, a very nice over farm and great fast move timing from Joey. You always want to throw odd numbers. 3 turn versus 2 turn. The opponent's final Pokemon is Charizard. I think we definitely should have thrown a Hex, only given him 1 free turn. However, this game is just going to be over. We reach the Surf. Surf won't be lethal as the opponent isn't running a Shadow Charizard. Interestingly enough, they're running a Charizard with a very silly party hat on. However, there's going to be no party for this trainer, as the opponent can fire off a Blast Burn. Mandibuzz shrugs it off, returns fire with the Dark Pulse, and Dark Pulse is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see the minty green variant of the Tin Can. Galvantula has a pretty good matchup here, as the opponent can only hit us for resisted, whereas we hit for neutral the entirety of the time, unless you go for any silly masturbating sessions with a lunge. However, I definitely wouldn't recommend that, as Registeel is ridiculously thick and they generally don't shield shit. However, speaking of which, we are going for the lunge bait. Let's see if I'm right. The opponent doesn't shield, however, it looks like Joey is just looking to get a huge amount of energy with the farm down, so not a bad play to be honest. The debuff is going to mean we survive that resisted Zap Cannon even easier and leave with a whole boatload of energy, so I'm going to correct what I said. You shouldn't throw a lunge the first time, as Registeels generally don't shield. However, you can lunge the second time and get a huge Volt Switch farm down. The opponent sending Giratina, we pivot out into Jellicent, which is our soft counter. Joey not messing around, full sending the Shadow Ball, getting his shield back. Jellicent ridiculously bulky, so we will survive one more move and we're going to make another Shadow Ball. The opponent fires off a Dragon Claw, we shrug it off, we make the second Shadow Ball. Do we force both shields off this Giratina in the mid game? Yes, we do. Can the opponent get the Dragon Breath farm down? It's going to be close. The opponent's counting on point. We're at the Shadow Ball. Joey chooses to shield this up. He needs to be mindful the opponent might try and catch. They do catch. However, it's on Tapu Fini. Shadow Ball going to land for huge damage. We see that wham bam combo play, serving up that Big Mac and the fries. Tapu Fini straight in and straight out. Back out comes Giratina. They're going to be permanently debuffed with the lunge. The opponent is going to commit to the full Dragon Breath farm down in 3, 2, 1. I imagine the opponent would top left. They haven't. They throw the Ancient Power. Come on, trainer, just quit. The opponent continuing to play it out. However, they've got hardly any HP. The second Ancient Power lands. We're still in the green. We make the Dark Pulse, and the opponent just stalled the inevitable. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, Galvantula into Tapu Fini. The avatar looks like me, however, that definitely wasn't me. I do use Drapion, but I definitely don't use Tapu Fini. Joey gonna fire off the lunge, and this hurts. I know, speaking from experience, the opponent showed no respect, and they're already in the red, and we pivot out into Mandy. The opponent, evidently a man of culture, running Sludge Bomb. If you're going to use Shadow Drapion, please don't use Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is terrible in Ultra League. We fire off the Aerial Ace, securing the knockout. Back out comes Tapu Fini. Mandibuzz still not done, going to spam out Aerial Asses, which are going to do pretty much nothing. However, we're so fit. The opponent going to be forced to dump a Moonblast and probably a Surf. Mandy already at the next Aerial Ace. Tapu Fini still in the green, they're finally in the yellow. Switch timer has popped up, so we can pivot back out of this matchup if we want. The opponent fires off the Moonblast. We survive. The opponent then make a great catch onto their second Dark Poison type, which is ironic because I do use double Dark Poison. However, I'd use Poliwrath, not Tapu Fini. We send back out Galvantula. Galvantula gonna fire off the lunge, looking to force a protection off the opponent. The opponent gives up that first shield, then fire off a charge move. Joey gonna shield. Is the spider thick enough to make another lunge? It's gonna be close. We get there on minimal HP. Galvantula showing it's not that squishy after all. The poison jab takes us out. It's now all down to Jellicent. We respect up. A double debuff crunch. I think Joey should just hex farm down, get the Shadow Ball ready. We actually choose to throw the Surf and the opponent makes a savage catch, catching the Surf back onto Tapu Fini. I would have just hex farm down because a 2-stage debuff crunch wouldn't have done that much, as even when they're non-debuffed, it only does about 60-65%. If this is a Moonblast, we could actually be in trouble here. I think it's just the Surf. Surf doesn't do too much. We're still going to be outside of crunch range. You're going to see now about 60-65%. Crunch hits hard, but not hard enough. Joey makes the Surf, and we manage to win yet another game. GG's, and thanks for playing. For the first time in the video, I was actually sweating a bit there. In the next battle, we see Galvantula into Swampert. Not a particularly great lead. 2 better responses in the back, but Joey is opting to stay, and we shield up the Hydro Cannon. Return fire with the lunge. I think the way this team functions is win lead if you can, and then try and RPS the back line. Joey fires off yet another lunge. Lunge going to do decent neutral damage to Swampert, however, they're definitely not going to get Volt Switched farm down. As is a non-shadow Swampert, a 2-stage debuffed Hydro Cannon doesn't do too much. The opponent forced to dump the remainder of their energy, and this time we see Joey just sack his lead. We now come into Jellicent. The opponent pivot out into Gliscor, looking to reset their debuff. We lose CMP. However, unless this opponent is running Aerial Ass, we do resist all charge moves. They fire off the Liquidation. We return fire with the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball lands for huge neutral damage, and now we see the pivot into Mandy. Mandy goes straight for the Aerial Ass. Does this knockout? Holy crap, Aerial Ace secured a knockout on something. Can you believe it? Back out comes Swampert, and again we're going to see the bulk of this really thick flyer. Hydro Cannon, absolutely busted move. However, Mandibuzz makes it look like it just tickles. The opponent actually shielding now. What's in the back, trainer? The opponent fires off another Hydro Cannon. Mandibuzz still can survive one more if it wants. The opponent throws on alignment, giving us a free Snarl. The opponent throws the Hydro Cannon. The Snarl that went through takes them out, and that final Pokemon is Giratina. The first Dark Pulse lands. We then see the pivot into Jellicent. The opponent wants the smoke, so my god, is Joey going to give it to him? We shield up the Shadow Sneak, return fire with the Shadow Ball, and Shadow Ball is going to vanquish Giratina back to their Pokeball. If you're a fan of XL abuse, you can see that team was essentially triple weak to XL Mandibuzz. They had no response. In the next battle, we see Galvantula into Tapu Fini. Interestingly enough, the opponent is staying in, so Joey's full sending the discharge. The opponent looks to call the bait. They near get one shot. This is going to be the easiest shield of Joey's life. We shield up the Surf. The Volt Switch that went through will take him out. The opponent clearly core broken. They send out Registeel, and again, we're not baiting. We full send the discharge. Discharge lands. Registeel now getting towards half health. Galvantula running through the opponent's team. Joey actually going to shield his spider. The opponent fires off the Zap Cannon. We don't even see an attack drop, and again we're full sending the discharge. Tin Can, you need to shield. The opponent does shield it up. We're going to outpace to the next discharge, so Joey this time going to fire off the lunge. We haven't baited yet, so the opponent gets forced to shield a bait, and it's CMP. As their debuff, we might actually survive this Zap Cannon, which we do. The opponent then snipe with Charizard, and hi Charizard, meet Jellicent, and the opponent very quickly runs for the hills and concede the match. Moving on to the next one. Galvantula into Cresselia, great lead. Galvantula looks like such a good lead in the Ultra League, as it wins a lot of leads, and even in neutral matchups, you can just debuff the shit out of opponents, then force them to switch out, so either way you do force alignment. Joey invests the protection, and this savage baits us with a Grass Knot to then make an even more savage catch, catching the lunge onto Registeel. However, Joey just going to stay in it and then return fire with a discharge. Discharge going to do heavy neutral damage or force a shield back. The opponent lets it go. Catching the lunge might not actually be that favourable for this opponent, as we actually will survive any one move. Joey, however, chooses to shield up the Focus Blast. The opponent opting to throw all the cheaper charge moves. We return fire, one more discharge. Discharge forces a shield back. They can throw any one move, and Galvantula will survive. The opponent again throw a Focus Blast. They then go for their own Wham Bam combo play, pivoting out into Cresselia. Cresselia throws the resisted Grass Knot, which is enough to knock out. However, we've got a great response for Cresselia in the form of Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz goes straight for the Dark Pulse, looking to force the final shield. The opponent just let it go and send out Poliwrath. Do we see a catch of our own? Not yet. We fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace lands for super effective damage. It looks like we're happy to stay in here. The opponent fires off the Ice Punch. That does essentially nothing. The opponent gonna fire off another Ice Punch, and that just tickles. This is another matchup where it's a great example of why I call Aerial Ace Aerial Ass. As we've thrown two and they're not even in the red. Fucking hell, it's a bad move. We then pivot out into Jellicent. Jellicent does resist absolutely everything. This game's just over. The opponent still has one Protect Shield, but I'm not entirely sure where they're going to use it. Back out comes Registeel. Registeel just going to get outpaced. The back-to-back charge moves. The opponent recognises that and concedes the match. In the next battle, we see another Sandslash lead. A bit of a core breaker. Let's see how Joey plays his way out of this one. This time we are going for the lunge bait. The last one didn't shield, and this one also doesn't shield. The opponent has enough for the drill run. We see Joey respect it. The opponent opts to go for the cheaper Ice Punch. They then throw another Ice Punch. Joey will survive this move, so we see the instant no shield. Joey again going for a lunge bait. Do we get our shield back? Yes, we do. Joey has been practicing his master bait, and he's now one of the best master baiters in the world, as he sat at 347th on the leaderboard. The opponent takes us out with an Ice Punch. The opponent is 2-stage debuff, so Jellicent going to get a very hefty Hex farm down unless the opponent pivots. Drill Run does absolutely nothing. The opponent gives us a huge farm down. Then send in Tapu Fini into a loaded Jellicent. That is a very interesting counter swap trainer. We're going straight Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball lands for big damage. Joey already at the second Shadow Ball. Tapu Fini going to be pressured to invest the Protect Shield. We do get the final shield with the Shadow Ball. The opponent then throw an alignment, giving us a free Hex. Joey shields up a potential Moonblast. The opponent full sends the Moonblast and then concede the match. So what was in the back? Maybe a Giratina at a guess? In the next battle we see Galvantula into Walrein. A pretty neutral lead. Despite us hitting for super effective, the Walrus does outpace and Galvantula doesn't tank an Icicle Sphere particularly well. We see Joey shield the first move, return fire with a lunge. The opponent calls it's just a lunge, which is going to allow the opponent to make one more charge move. Great play from the opponent. If we would have went straight discharge, would have left very healthy. The opponent then send in Swampert. We fire off a lunge. Do we see the pivot? No, we don't, but the opponent does dump energy, which isn't a bad spot to be in. It looks like Joey wants to keep his switch timer available. The opponent pivots out into Charizard. Holy crap, that is a very interesting counter swap. Joey's Jellyfish evidently agrees as look how happy it looks at the situation it's found himself in. Joey respects the Blast Burn, recognising the opponent's unlikely to bait when we're at full health, a great shield. Joey then returns fire with another Surf. Surf draws the final Protect Shield. We're still outside of Blast Burn range. I imagine the opponent's going to try and make a catch, so how you always know about your timer, after around 4 charge moves and the quick moves, is usually around a minute. The opponent fires off the Dragon Claw, their timer does pop up, they make a nice catch, catching the Surf onto Swampert. However, we pivot out into Mandibuzz, and Mandibuzz is going to have no problem cleaning up this battle. Swampert is going to need 4 Hydro Cannons to take us out. Holy crap, I've never seen Hydro Cannon do so little damage. We fire off the cheaper Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace secures the knockout. Charizard's going to need to make 2 Blast Burns, or at least a Blast Burn and a Dragon Claw. We've still got Jellicent alive. We fire off the Dark Pulse. The opponent doesn't even make 1 Blast Burn, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Galvantula into Skunk Tank. Joey goes straight for the lunge, looking to lower Skunk Tank's attack. It looks like the opponent will win this in the 2 shield, as the Poison Jabs are doing a lot more than our Volt Switch. We shield up the Crunch. The opponent doesn't get the debuff. We make another lunge. Is the opponent looking to play the 2s out? Let's see. The opponent does 2 shields. It looks like the opponent also looking to force alignment. However, Joey thinks he'll make 1 more lunge. Let's see. Does the spider get there? Yes, we do. The opponent makes a catch, catching onto Tapu Fini. However, we've got a great Tapu Fini response in the form of Jellicent. Jellicent pretty dominant here, even before they're debuffed. This Moonblast isn't going to do a lot whatsoever. Well, to be fair, it looks like 2 Moonblast will still knock out, even with a 1-stage debuff. We fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball rocks him deep into the red. However, we are still going to have to throw a Surf at this thing. Joey looks to commit to the Hex farm down. The opponent makes a move on 1 HP and a Dream. Moonblast does knock us out. We look to snipe with Galvantula. The opponent pivots out into Virizion. We die with the lunge. Mandibuzz now has to sweep the entirety of the team. Does the opponent have Stone Edge? No, they don't. They're just on Sacred Sword, which should mean this is game over. We should be able to reach the 2 Aerial Aces or Aerial Asses required to knock this thing out before the opponent's time is up. We fire off the first Aerial Ass. Aerial Ass, despite being double super effective, still doesn't do that much damage. The opponent fires off one more Sacred Sword. We're over farming. We need to get rid of this thing before the opponent has an attempt to catch. Aerial Ace does land, securing the knockout. I don't think Skunk Tank's going to make a charge move. Back out comes the Skunk. The opponent doesn't catch. Back onto Tapu Fini. Aerial Ace secures the knockout. And Tapu Fini is going to die to 1 or 2 Snarls. Let's go. In the next battle, we've got Galvantula into Gliscor. Again, we get some frame drops. The opponent pivot out into Gliscor. We bank some energy and hard punish him with Mandibuzz. The opponent fires off the Night Slash. Holy smokes, this is such a dreadful spot if you're a Gliscor user. The opponent going to continue fishing for the boost. No such luck yet. We then throw 1 Snarl and the Dark Pulse for optimal fast move timing. The second Dark Pulse will be lethal and the opponent is having no such RNG luck fishing for that boost. The opponent's fishing line needs to go back to the shop. They need to get a new fishing rod because their boost luck is absolutely dreadful. The opponent fires off a 4th Night Slash. We still don't see a boost. Joey fires off the Aerial Ass. Aerial Ass doesn't knock out. We get the Snarl farm down. If the opponent returns with Gliscor, they must be weak to Mandibuzz in the back, as this definitely isn't a great matchup. The first Aerial Ass lands. Liquidation isn't going to knock us out, and the opponent is going to be left pretty much with no HP after tanking the second Aerial Ass. Let's see if the opponent shield and try and farm down. The opponent doesn't shield. Can they even get the farm down? The opponent gives up on the farm down, throwing energy. X-Scissor takes us out. We come back into Galvantula. The opponent's final Pokemon is Swampert, and again, this was game over from the start. Lunge, draws a Protect Shield. Joey gonna make the second lunge. Surely Swampert isn't gonna 2-shield. The opponent does 2-shield. We show him the Jellicent, and the opponent is going to concede. Moving on to the next one. We see another opponent using PvPoke's #1 ranked pick, the big tin can known as Registeel. Galvantula goes straight for the discharge. Discharge lands. We can survive any one move. Let's see if Joey shields the first. Yes, he does. Do we get an attack drop? Let's go. The 66% chance doesn't debuff us this time, and you love to see it. We fire off one more discharge. We're now going to be able to Volt Switch farm down after tanking one move, and Galvantula again is going to force alignment. Let's see what this opponent's got hiding behind the tin can. The opponent sends out Trevenant, and it looks like again it's going to be RPS for the win. Lunge is going to lower Trevenant's attack. The opponent can Shadow Claw, farm us down, thinking they're in a good spot with residual energy. However, we send in Mandibuzz. The opponent's got Swampert in the back. We show him the Jellicent, and this game again is just over. If I was Joey, I'd just save 2 shields for Mandibuzz. However, he does correctly shield up an Earthquake. The opponent still with 2 Protect shields of their own. I personally would have just saved 2 shields for Mandibuzz, as Trevenant, even though he's got 1 bazillion energy, is not getting rid of Mandy. And Swampert's going to need 4 Hydro Cannons to take him out. However, I guess you can use your shields wherever you like, and this game's just pretty unwinnable for the opponent. They fire off another Earthquake. We return fire with another Surf. The opponent's probably going to look to snipe our Jellicent at some stage with the Seed Bomb. The opponent does go for the snipe. Joey anticipates it, catches back onto Mandibuzz. And I'm anticipating the opponent very quickly top left in. The opponent is continuing to play this out. However, I'm not entirely sure what they're hoping for. They throw the Shadow Ball. That does nothing. We return fire with the Dark Pulse. It's going to be High Tree, Bye Tree. Back out comes Swampert. We've got another Dark Pulse locked and loaded. And it's going to be High Swampert, Bye Swampert. GG's and thanks for playing. Huge shout out to thinhjoey, showing us the power of Shadow Galvantula in the lead. He was able to go from 2600 ELO all the way to Legend, then advance all the way to 347th in the world in just 5 days, which is an absolutely phenomenal run. I'm still personally short on the XL candy, so I'm unable to build my Shadow Galvantula. However, if I did have the resources available, I'd definitely run it. It looks so annoying as a lead. You're able just to force alignment or just debuff the shit out of something and force the opponent to switch out, and that gives you the alignment in the back that you want. And Joey was able to take advantage of that time and time again. So if you've got access to this team, give it a try for yourself. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, I'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone for the recent support and for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.